And this session is called Vibe Coding with Canva. And I love the fact that you can create interactive learning tools now in Canva. All vibes, no code, because you might have heard me say before, but coding is something I took a stab at multiple times learning. And I would just get to a certain place. I did a whole lot of hello world coding and got kind of to hit a ceiling and never gotten beyond where I could code my own things. And so I've been loving all this vibe coding that's been going on because it gives me the potential to do something I haven't been able to do before. But some of the previous versions, like the Chat GPT vibe coding, or using the Canvas there to create things, or Claude using it to create your own interactives, there's a problem with those with sharing with students, because generally your students are not going to be allowed to access the URL that they're shared with. And so that's why I'm so excited about this opportunity with Canva, because when you create one of these things in Canva, you can easily share it with your students. And so and it also works really well for the most part. Has a couple of bugs. It's still very new. The technology is just rolled out last week to most folks, but we'll go ahead and dive in. And I do have folks here from DTL that will keep dropping in the link if you need it. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if you are not muted, if you don't mind just muting yourself, I think most of you know me already, but there's my name, my information. If you would like to connect, I am on, there's my email there. I'm on LinkedIn very heavy. There's my X account as well. And I will go ahead and move to the next page. And what I have here is a poll, an interactive poll that was created with Canva, vibe coding, what we're going to do today. But if you don't mind to go ahead and pull that poll up and go ahead and answer those two questions, that helps me a lot as I kind of tailor the session on the fly. And so if you can fill that in to tell me what grade level you serve, and then what your own AI literacy is, self-rating your own AI literacy. We'll give you just a minute to get that completed. And as you can see, it is starting to fill in as people respond. And again, this is something that was coded in Canva with the vibe coding, just speaking it into existence pretty much, asking it to create this poll for me. I told it the questions that I wanted, and I told it that I wanted it to show the responses live as they came in. And as you can see, that is exactly what it's doing there. And so I'm going to keep it up for a minute because we still only have about 11 folks there. And Brian has dropped the presentation link again in the chat. And so if you pull that presentation link up, it is the second page. And also notice, normally I share like a Canva presentation. This time I've shared a web page. And so for navigation, you can go up to the top and select the page that says poll. And we'll let a couple more people input their responses and just kind of look at what we have here. It looks like we have a few PK2, a few 3-5, fair amount of middle school, a whole lot of high school, and then several people that teach multiple grades. And then as far as AI literacy, we're all over the map, except for nobody yet has considered themselves a ninja or a 4. Okay, so a couple more minutes on that, and then we'll go ahead and move forward. But that does give me some good information. It looks like everybody has some experience for the most part, just one person with no experience whatsoever, and a couple of novices, somebody who's fairly proficient. Oh, and we have somebody who's really good. We've got somebody joining us who has a lot of experience. Okay, so I appreciate you taking time to complete that. And I see some folks still on it, still completing it. We don't have nearly as many responses as we have people, but I am going to go ahead and move on in just a minute. And so looks like we're still about the same breakdown. So we've still got a few people who are fairly proficient, a whole lot of high schoolers, a few middle school, a few from, we've got more PK2 people who have joined us, it looks like, quite a few of those. So that helps me just to tailor the experience, and also as a way to demonstrate one of the things that you can create with Canva. And so I'm going to go ahead and go forward. And the first thing I'm going to do is just give you a couple of minutes to explore these 3 example projects that are made by Canva folks. These were shared by them, just so you can get an idea of how this works. And I'll also kind of go through them on the screen. If you're not comfortable with working in multiple tabs or multiple screens, you can look on the screen. But they shared 3 of these, and I really like them: the Pirate Code Adventure, Deep Ocean Explorer, and the Classroom Helper. And so I'm going to just go ahead and open these. And as you can see, right off the bat, it's very well designed. It looks very, very cool and engaging. And then over here on the left, it has directions. And so it's a pirate theme, and you have to find the coordinates 3 and 9 to discover it. And so as a student, you would go in and answer the question, and then notice that it gives you a check mark, and it tells you right away whether it's right or wrong. And so this one will miss, and we will show what it does if you're wrong. Okay, if you're wrong, it gives you a clue. You need to move up on the Y coordinate, look for Y6, and as you can see, it's using this pirate language as well. And so then we move it, it tells you you're right. And so if you have that open in front of you, you can kind of go through there and engage with it a few minutes. And I'm just going to continue doing that for a minute. And 7 to... So we can see and we see what happens at the end when we finish it. So, okay. Oh, I missed that one. 5 and 1. Okay. Okay. And as you can see at the end, it gives you kind of this, it says you found the treasure, and gives you like an affirmation. And so that's one of the 3 projects. We'll look at these others. These are all fairly simple, but very well designed. And so I'm going to just pull this one open. This one's a Deep Ocean Explorer. And we're going to begin this expedition. It tells you it's an extraordinary journey through the ocean's depths. It's divided into distinct zones with each unique characteristics, pressures, and marine life. And so as you can tell, again, very well designed, very visual. And as I'm hovering over here, it's giving me information on what I'm seeing. And then it has these little things that you can look at. So the sunlight zone checkpoint, I'm going to go with that. And it tells you if it's correct or not, and then it moves you along. So this one actually has levels built in. And so it's asked for you to whoever created this, put that into the prompt to build in the levels. And so again, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to kind of explore. The third one is just like a name chooser. And we'll take about 2 minutes and let you kind of look at it and explore those 3 on your own. Just pop open another tab and look at them, and then we'll get back and look at some other examples that I've created. And my timer doesn't work because I'm on a website, so I'm just going to watch my clock. And hopefully as you're exploring those, your brain is churning and you're thinking about ways that you could apply those to your context, whatever that is, whatever grade, age, or subject matter that you teach. You could apply these same kinds of activities. You can create the same kinds of learning activities and interactive simulations and things like that for your context as well. So we're going to go ahead in just a minute, move on. That was almost 2 minutes. Anybody want to mention anything that you saw in the chat or come off mute about any of these activities? A way that you might could apply similar strategy to your own context, your own subject or grade level?
Vera, I'm just thinking this would have been great when I was teaching chemistry and to explore the elements and their different properties, valence shell and electron configurations. It would have been an awesome activity.
Yep, I agree. It would have been. We had to just kind of go out and hunt on the internet and hope to find something, and it usually wasn't exactly what we wanted. So I think it's a great time in some ways to be a teacher. Some ways it's not, of course, but to be able to create your own engaging, interactive learning activities that are exactly what you want, and you can engage with the model using plain text to do that. I think that's pretty exciting. And a couple of people mentioned that they are engaging, and gamification is a huge plus. It really is. It really works. You know, kids love to be challenged and to have a game of some sort. Um, Brian says an upgraded version of a web quest. Anybody remember doing the web quest in the 2000s? I remember doing those. I remember taking hours and hours and hours to complete them, to create them, and then students flying through them in about half an hour. But worked with 12th grade teacher teaching market equilibrium. Okay, showing the changes in the slope. It was really engaging. That's great, Samantha. Did you create a Canva code activity for that? I think it's Samantha Armstrong.
Yes, yeah, we did. He was
Okay.
saying it was so hard for them to see that actually happen, and I didn't understand it personally, so it helped me
hmm
and it taught me something new too.
Oh, that's excellent. When we're going to have a sharing session in a little bit. I'd love to see that. If you want to share it, we'd love to see that. That's fantastic. So teachers I support will be so excited. How much time does it take for you to create each activity? And I'm going to show you that in just a minute. The actual coding part does take a few minutes, but you're not actually doing that. You're just watching it. Um, and so just like in all things else, all other things, Gen AI, creating the prompt is the biggest time uh, that you have to put into it. But then you can go on and, go to the restroom, get a drink, something like that while it's creating the code for you. We're going to do that live in just a second. I do have a couple of more pages of examples, and I know you won't have time to explore all of them, but I want you to just have time to explore just a couple more because these are ones I've created. And of course, they're not as pretty as Canvas because I'm not quite the expert they are just yet. But I wanted you just to see these are all ones that I've created, and there's 2 pages of them. Explore 3. These are kind of like the easier ones. Multiplication flashcards, a Romeo and Juliet quiz, and a little fraction chef activity teaching multiply and division of fractions, a water cycle activity, and a solar system activity. And then on Explore 3 page, there are some more that I have created that are a little more advanced. The top ones are more like school content, and the bottom ones are things that I've created for adult learners. And so I want to give you just a minute to explore. There are 10 of them there, so obviously you won't be able to explore all of them. But to open one of these up, what you have to do is just hover over it and then click the little crossbars in the corner, and it will open up in full screen, and you can engage with it live. And so you can click around and engage with it live. And then when you're ready to return to the website, you just hit your escape key and it will take you back. And so let's take about 3 minutes to explore the ideas on Explore 2 and Explore 3 and continue to percolate and think about ways that you can use this in your own context because we're going to be moving into that portion in just a few minutes. And while you're doing that, I'll pull one up and kind of engage with it for anybody who maybe doesn't want to have another tab open, people that are on their phone, that kind of thing, and don't have the capacity to work on a different tab. And so I'll just pull this one up that I created. Most of you will be familiar with the Every framework that I created with Amanda Bickerstaff from AI for Education. And this one is a tool to help teach that framework. And so, as you can tell, it has an overview, first of all, and it kind of summarizes the framework. And then it has a reminder at the bottom, and then it has a continue page. So I can continue there, or I can come up here to the top. And what it will do then is break down each part of that framework. And then it also not just breaks it down, but it gives examples of good uses of it, and then also ways that need improvement. And so it goes in like student examples for the evaluate are working on a history project. She decides to use AI to help brainstorm interesting aspects of Egyptian culture. Why it's good, she's using AI as a starting point, but will verify information. And then over here, the not so good one, Jamie has a math problem set. He asked AI to solve the problems without understanding the process. A better approach would be able to ask it to explain, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes on and says, your turn, evaluate these scenarios. So it has a couple of questions. And so obviously that one would be better to help brainstorm. And I'm just going to click the wrong one, and you can see that it does instantly give feedback. And instant feedback is also another really powerful tool to use, and you can code that in with your words. You can ask for that instant feedback. And so I'm going to go ahead then and see if it will let me correct it. And then I'm going to go on to the next page. That button wasn't working. And so each page is kind of set up that way. I won't go through every one, but it has that for every page, kind of gentle reminders, introduces that part of the framework, and then gives them some examples. This one actually gives them example disclosure statements, what they need to have included in it. And then it has, that's what the check is there. And then it has an exit ticket. So this one I had it create an exit ticket also with just 5 questions on the framework. And so this is a tool that you can actually take and use if it's something you think would be helpful to your students. I've shared it out on LinkedIn. I'll also, you can also get the link from there. But that's just the kind of activity you can do, and you can get as complicated as you want. Some of the ones on this Explore 2 page are very simple. Just like flashcards, but very helpful. Flashcards are a good strategy for students, but they're very, very easy. And I did that one, and somebody asked about the time. This flashcard one, my investment in it was about a minute flat, because it did what I wanted. It was just simple. But like the Every Framework one, I probably spent about an hour total in iterating and revising it and waiting for it to recode. And so it depends on how complex the tool is. Same thing with this craft one, because I have a student and a teacher version. That took a little more iteration on my part, a little more revising and editing. And so it depends, but nowhere near as long as I would have to spend if I even had the capability to make that on my own, which I don't. Okay, so anybody want to weigh in on any of those? Have any questions or comments on any of those that you've explored this time before we move on to the next part? Chat or come off mute, either one is fine. Okay, I'm not great with wait time, but I assume everybody just wants to move on.
One quick question.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Is the Explore My Examples page also using vibe coding, the page we're looking at in front of us?
Yep, every single thing on this presentation was created in Canva Code. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, and it just shows you the range of just very simple to very complex things that you can create. Mm-hmm. Yep, great question. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move to the next one then. We're going to do hands-on this time, actually getting into it and letting you just try some of the ready-made prompts. And so I'm going to open Canva in another screen and kind of walk you through. As you can see here, the obnoxious little arrows are also pointing you to those things. But I'm going to pull up Canva and just show you. When you go to your Canva and you log into your Canva education account, on your home page, you've got the Canva AI tab now on the left. That should have rolled out to everybody on May 20th. And so hopefully everybody has it. And so you can click that and that will pull this up. Or you can also go up here to the top and click it here, and that will pull you into the Canva AI. And so either one of those will work. And as you can see, when you go to Canva AI, it has lots of examples of lots of different things. All of these are not coding. As you can see, there's some writing, coding, images, and so forth. So if you want to see only the coding projects, then you would also want to click here and click Code for Me. and that filters down the examples under here to just the coding projects. And so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10 different activities here, just for you to kind of see how it works. You can click one of these and get started. And so I'll do one that I think will probably be fairly simple. I'm going to do an interactive historical timeline. And so when I click that, notice that it puts the prompt in there for me. All of these are already prompted for you. And so whenever you go here to the prompt, you can look at it and kind of dissect it a little bit. And then you can edit it also if you want to differentiate it a little bit from what you see there. And so it says create an interactive historical timeline component that engages students. Start with an example, ancient civilizations, featuring Egyptian, Greek, and Roman key events. And if I wanted to change this and I wanted it to be an interactive timeline of World War II or the Cold War or whatever, I could edit this prompt and I could change that. Because of time and you sitting here watching me badly type, I'm not going to, I'm just going to leave it there. But just want you to know that these prompts are completely editable, okay? How it can be embedded in Canvas. Good question. I'll explore that a little bit. If you can embed with a link, you can get a link to it, and we'll talk about how to share it at the end, but I'm sure they probably could because you can embed Canva presentations in Canvas. And so you could do it that way. If nothing else, I'll show you that toward the end. Okay. But so as you can see, I've got code for me selected. I've got my instructions, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit this because this part does take time. And as you can see, it tells you it's thinking. All of the AI tools now are using that terminology, even though as educators would prefer they didn't. I would prefer it not say it's thinking because we're trying really hard to make sure our kids understand that they're not human. But all of them are doing that with these new reasoning models. And that's basically what's running behind this very strong reasoning model. And so as you can see, it's coding live in front of me. It's also, you can see it has all of the HTML tags in it, and it is going to town. And so what it will do is it will finish coding it, and it will present me with a version that I can try, and then I will try it out, test it out, and then I will see if there's any way that I want it to change it. And then on the left-hand side over here, if so, I can keep prompting it for those changes. And so very, very cool. And hopefully it will finish in a minute. But as you can see, that's a lot of coding, and it tells you up here at the top, it gives you a line count. And if I could do this, even if a person is very, very good at coding, this would take a tremendous amount of time. And so doing it all for me, and hopefully it will finish in just a second because I'm just kind of rambling at this point. Okay, now as you can see over here on the left, it tells me that it created it. Try clicking it and see if the information cards pop up. You can also use the civilization filters at the top to focus on specific cultures. And notice it says version 1. Okay, so if I want to just focus on the Egyptian, I can click that. If I want to focus on Greek, Roman, and notice also that when I click this, it will have a tag that kind of tells me which civilization it is. And so if I want to see them all, I can click that. But notice it doesn't have any other information, okay? And so that's a problem. I can't see any information. That is a problem. And so it tells you here that it spans from, but I'm going to say when I click, and notice I'm just using just plain old English, the timeline markers, no information except the civilization is showing. And so this is where most of your time is just having to recode it over and over to go in and make error fixes if there are any. And I'm not saying that there always are, but you're usually going to want to make some adjustments. So I'm going to just say fix this, and I'm going to hit enter again. And it's going to go through that whole process again. It's going to code that whole thing again and present me with a version 2. And hopefully version 2 will work better than version 1. But you can always go back to your previous versions on the left over here by clicking the version. And so, yeah. I wonder, Nicholas, if you could copy and paste the code into a document. I don't think that you could because it goes away so fast. And they don't really let you access the code in this like you could in Claude or ChatGPT Canvas. They let you access the code and the preview separately. That's one thing that this doesn't do. And hopefully that is something they will change, though, because I would prefer that. And if you could code, you would prefer to be able to go in and actually edit the code. But that's one thing that you can't do, because what you'll see is as soon as it finishes coding, it goes immediately into the preview. Yeah, and somebody's talking on there about saying please. And yeah, Heidi and I had a conversation the other day about that. There's some new research out that actually when you say please and thank you and use manners to a large language model, that it actually is more likely to be sycophantic and give you things that are not actually correct. And so, and also in addition, Sam Altman came out and talked about how many millions of dollars it's costing in power for people to do that. And so we're kind of changing our framing a little bit around that, teaching students to save manners for humans and just to be clear and direct with AI. And so that discussion is kind of going on in the chat. And so Lindsay says she just added her Fable Forge Google Doc link in with all my NC standards and a ton of text and drop downs already embedded. Did such a good job, Lindsay. If you wouldn't mind, if you go up to the right hand corner, we'll do it in a minute, but where it says use in a project, would you do that so you don't lose it? Because there is one thing, that a problem that I've seen is that if you don't, some of my projects are not saving unless I use them in a project, and then they're in my Canva homepage, and I'll show you that in a minute. But let's see how we did. Okay, so it says it added, it tells you over here what it did, and let's see if it actually did it. And it didn't. So this one is, as fate would have it, when I do a demo, it doesn't work. I did one of these and it did work the other day, but it still hasn't fixed it. And so I would have to continue iterating on this one to get it. But what I was talking to Lindsay about, and this is really important, and it's a glitch, and I hope they will fix it. But when you do find something that you like and that is good, like Lindsay's is good, mine's not, but go to use in a design, and then you have a choice between website, presentation, doc, or whiteboard, and make sure you save it in a design, and then you can share it with the design link. Because one thing that I have found, and this one's not good, I would have to keep iterating on it, but one thing I have found, and I've seen some discussion about this in Reddit too, is that it's not saving my chats down here anymore. As you can see, it was a month ago, up into 2 weeks ago and a week ago. But I've made all of those you've seen today since then, and it's not saving them in my Canva AI or showing them over here. And so when you go through that use in design step, though, what it will do then is it will put them in your Canva homepage. And so, and that's where you need to share them anyway. And so right here, like this is one I created earlier today. It's one of those examples. When I open it up in Canva, then I can share it like I can share anything else in Canva, which means all of your kids can access it. And so if I want to share this with my students, then I can go in and I can change the sharing settings, and I can set it any way I want to, make it visible, a link to it, make them just comment, view, whatever. And so it's really important right now to do that step. It was saving just fine until a week ago. So I'm hoping that's a glitch that they will fix, because it used to, when I first started fooling with it, it saved all of them down here. And then I could go back to any of them and continue working on it later. Okay. Somebody just created a citation maker for students for a project created as a website, so it would save. And if you have one you already want to share, I'm going to open a couple of them and show them. And I'm going to open Lindsay's right now and throw it up here. And so hers is Fable Forge, and she does a whole big thing with this, but notice that it lets you choose you have to go into presentation. That's another thing. In order for it to work as interactive, I have to go in to present it. And so I'm going to go in and present it, and then it will work interactively. So I have a character here. I want to be a shy artist. I'm going to have a problem, and I'm just clicking randomly. It may not make a lick of sense, but I'm just clicking randomly. So she has all of these drop down things that she created in a Google Doc, which was really awesome. And then I'm going to generate a story. And so then it should hopefully generate a story, but that button may not be working. And so that may be something that she has to iterate on, is go back and tell it that button isn't working. But excellent, excellent use of the tool. And I see another one there that Brene has created. I do have a whiteboard in a minute. I'm going to ask you to share them on there as well, but I'm just going to show a few of them for now in the meantime, so we can kind of see what people are creating already. And here's a citation maker that Brene made in maybe 5 minutes. And so you can choose whether it is a book, a journal, a YouTube video, or whatever, and then put all this information in, which I don't have, and then it will generate an MLA citation. So excellent. Okay, fantastic uses of this. And so Michael put something also: forward thinking, practical, student centered. If you're book people, this book also covers a lot on vibe coding. Okay, great. I haven't seen that book. So Michael shared a great book recommendation. And that's one I don't have. So hopefully they have it on Audible, because I got a bunch of driving to do soon. I'll have to check it out. Thank you. Okay, so we will go ahead and move along then. That was just the ready-made ones, and hopefully you all got to create one. And remember to use it in a design when you finish, to make sure you don't lose access to it. And I'm really hoping Canva will get that little glitch fixed. I was hoping they would get it fixed before this webinar, but alas, they have not. And so just make sure you use it in a design. You want to keep iterating until you perfect it, and then use it in a design. And so if you're still iterating on yours, feel free to continue, keep it open. But I do have a whiteboard for us to share these things on. And so I would love it if you would, on this slide or this page, if it's the one called Share One, there's a whiteboard link there for you to open, and everybody should be able to access this. And I see somebody already has one on there, so that we can all explore what each other are creating. I think that would be fabulous. And notice that he has just shared a link. And some of the other people have shared Canva files. And another thing you can do for sharing, and I'll go ahead and point this out, if I go to, and I can open Canva in multiple tabs, but another way you can share these, the way that I did it on there, is if you go to your home page and you go to I'm going to do Lindsay's, and you go to copy link. First of all, you do have to change the share settings. Make sure you do that. So, and everybody can access it, whatever that, and then you copy. I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to copy that, and then you can go to wherever in Canva you can share with just the link as well. And so on the whiteboard, I can just go here and paste, and it will put a little thumbnail of that, and that's an interactive thumbnail with the bars that allow you to open it as well. But you do have to be in present mode for those for the interactive piece to work. And so I can go there, and then I can open that. And so either way that you want to share it, if you don't mind to take a moment and share what you've created, we will have some to look at. Brene, if you don't mind, I'm just going to drop yours in there. Well, and it just pasted it as a link. You might want to embed it by copying it from the home page. It's prettier that way. Whichever, if you want to do that, we'll just delete what I did. Wow, 50. Oh, we have 25 minutes. We still have a few more minutes. How we doing on times? Everybody need another minute to finish iterating and get something ready to share? Give me a wave or a hand if you need another minute. I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, Lindsay says yes, please. Okay. Lindsay speaks. Lindsay gets what she wants. I love seeing all these projects popping up, and that gives you something to do if you are finished and we're waiting on other people to finish. Please explore what other people have created here. You can open them up again. If they've embedded it, just click the double arrows, or if they put a link, just go in there and copy the link. Oh no, Molly, it won't let me copy your link. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it's linked. Okay. Oh, Molly got an idea for her ISTE presentation. 900 lines of code, Lindsay. That's hilarious. That's some heavy coding. Love this, Molly. This is amazing.
I love this, Vera. Thank you for showing it to us. But we were actually working on some timeline things, and this is a great thing to be able to show, the educators who come to our tour. And I know Michelle's doing the same thing. So Michelle and Randy are probably also working on their ISTE tour. How can I embed this now?
Well, this is amazing.
I was like, this is amazing. This would go great in our presentation.
I hope to get to do both of your walks. I hope it's not 120 though, but we'll manage. I love that. Now, I have not seen a way to embed it other than just through Canva. Like if you have a Canva presentation, I believe you can get embed code. I don't normally do that, but you can get embed code that way. If you do a Canva presentation, I don't know if you can get embed code on a website. I'll have to try that out, but that is one way that you could embed it, is to put it in a Canva presentation. Okay, anyone still need more time? See a few more popping up there. I know it does take a while, so we've got a math equilibrium. Oh, that's the one I asked somebody to share earlier. This is from Samantha, I presume. Is the one you shared, Samantha?
Yes, it is. And it's fairly simple. We're still working on some other pieces, but that's what we were doing with it.
I love a simulation. That's what I was doing a lot with Claude, is creating simulations. This is amazing. Yeah, this would help me understand it as well. Love it. Price control. This is very cool. Very awesome. And that reminds me of something else Lindsay's did as well. If you're creating and you want to add your own, let me get back to my Canva page. If you want to add your own content, like for my Every framework and the craft framework, I wanted to add reference documents. What I have found is that you need to do that first. Go ahead and add the documents that you want to reference first before you click this Code for Me button. For whatever reason, when you click Code for Me, it doesn't let you add the media anymore, but it will if you just unclick it. And so add your documents first, but it does work. So you can add any kind of reference document you want. Like Lindsay said, she added her Google Doc that she used for that project. I added my frameworks, a PDF in one and an image in the other. So I've tested all of those three things, PDF, image, and Google Doc. And I'm sure you could probably add other things as well, but just do that before you press Code for Me. Okay. And I would assume that you probably did that as well on your interactive, but maybe not. Okay, so we'll go ahead and keep moving then. Hopefully we'll get some more things shared on there. We have another sharing session in a minute. That was just for the ready-made ones. But I want to talk now about if you want to create your own, then it's not one of the ready-made applications that they have there. And just like in all other generative AI aspects, your role as the prompter is crucial. It's really, really important to get a good end product, to make sure that you prompt it correctly. And these are 5 things that you really need to make sure that you do. And first of all, defining a clear learning objective, make it very clear what you aim to address. And I personally always recommend that teachers use an actual copy paste the actual standard course of study. I think that gets you the most likelihood of actually addressing it. And so you need to include that. You want to tell what kind of interactive components you want. And so you could say, I want a quiz, I want flashcards, I want a drag and drop, I want a simulation, I want a game. whatever you want timeline. And that kind of guides it to make sure and give you the correct format. And you also want to encourage the inclusion of the images and video and audio and things like that that you want to make it more interactive. And obviously Canva was a little better at that than I is, because their designs were beautiful and mine not as beautiful. But your words, again, you can be very specific about what you want it to look like. And I've seen it do some pretty remarkable things. And then also, if you want features that allow for immediate feedback, you need to include that in your prompt as well, such as correct and incorrect indicators or explanations, to promote that active learning and self-assessment. And then, Lindsay's works now. We're gonna have to look at it again. And then we're gonna have to. Then you also want to make sure that you're ensuring accessibility by talking about the alt text for images and readable formats, color contrast, and complete disclosure. I didn't do that in mine. I just discovered that today that I probably should have, and so I added that as an afterthought. But you can gig me on that, because mine you will not have alt text on, because I didn't prompt for that. But it is a good idea, a good strategy. And so then, this is an example of a prompt that includes all of those elements. And so it starts with design an interactive cooking themed activity. And this is one of the ones on there that was an example you could look at for 5th grade students that addresses the standard. And then I give it the exact standard. Align it with North Carolina standard, focusing on interpreting fractions as division and solving related word problems. Incorporate interactive elements such as drag and drop, fill in the blank, blah, blah, blah. Utilize visual aids like fraction bars, pie charts, real world imagery. Provide a progress tracker and give immediate feedback. Ensure accessibility by using readable fonts, high contrast colors, and alt text for the images. And so if you want to try that one, you can copy straight from that page. But then another thing you can do is to encourage in action. There are different ways that you can encourage action. One, you can have it add a timer. You can ask for that. You can ask for it to celebrate success, and sometimes it'll do like confetti and things like that. You can ask for a progress bar, which I did in that one. I haven't tried the read aloud button, but I saw somebody else that demoed one, and they had a button that you could actually make it read aloud. And so that's one I haven't gotten to yet. But you can also ask for that gamification. If you want it to have gamification and level up, things like that, you can do that. And then you can also include emojis. Okay, so Lindsay had a new one for us to look at now, the Fable Forge. So I'm going to pull that one up. And because I wanted to write my story. It didn't write my story for me. She said she has it working by iterating again, going in that chat and editing the chat. So I'm going to be a 3rd to 5th grader, and I'm going to randomly choose again some things here, not really even looking at them. And kids love a choose your own adventure thing. And so then I'm going to tell it to generate the story. Okay, and there it goes. It puts all of my words into a story. There lived a shy artist who is known throughout the land, whoosh crack. So it's using that onomatopoeia, the literary device. Notice that she's got these all also linked to standards. Go, Lindsay. And you can change the grade level, but it created a cute little story for me, and then shows the standards that are addressed. And then you can either print that or create another story. So that's fantastic. Love that. I would like to have, I'm gonna have to add that one to my presentation, Lindsay. That would be a good one to add. Okay, so the next thing then is another creation activity, this time where you're creating your own prompt rather than just using one of the few limited ones there. And some of you already jumped ahead and have already created awesome things of your own. But this is just a sample prompt you can copy and edit and paste if you want to. But I just asked for an interactive simulation about the food web that helps 5th grade students understand the interdependence of each part of an ecosystem aligned with standard course of study, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going to copy that because it takes so long, and go ahead and get that running for me. But again, remember, if you want to add media, do that first. And then I'm going to go back and add to it some language around accessibility that I have on this one. And so I'm going to say it should ensure accessibility, and I'm going to add I'm going to add those 3 because those are kind of generic. They'll work on anything, and I want to make sure that, well, that I have something about the final code already, but I am going to add those about accessibility. So, oops, I hit enter. Same thing with ChatGPT, Gemini, or any of those. If you hit enter, it's going to run. I'm always forgetting to hit shift and enter. You'll need to hit shift and enter if you wanted to go down another line, which is what I intended to do. But because it takes so long, I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to go ahead and let it run. And another thing that I've noticed is there's not a stop button on this either. And so like with ChatGPT or Canva or ChatGPT or Claude or any of them, they have a stop button. This one, all you can do is cancel the whole thing and start over. And so again, that's something I hope they fix, that they add. And Brian says, this is really good, Lindsay, and I love to see it coded after all the hard work that you've already done on this. Yeah, it is. Okay, been replaced. Well, you had to have the idea, though. We're still going to be the idea generators, the verifiers, the evaluators. That all is still going to fall to us, but it really, it's amazing to me what it can do these days. So if you want to go ahead and be editing that prompt and running it, because it does take so much time, we can get them running in the background. And we are a little short on time. I'm going to move back to the presentation and then come back to this in a minute. But the next thing that I had for you on the slide deck, we've talked about adding activity. We've talked about that, but is iterating. And we've talked about it a little bit, and I kind of demonstrated it. But on the left, when it finishes, you have that prompting window, and that's where you iterate. And again, you can get multiple versions. Some of those more elaborate ones I did, like the craft and the everyone, which I can't show you because it didn't save them, only in my Canva homepage. But I think I was down to like version 9 or 10 of those because I kept just making small tweaks. And so what I have noticed is, and I noticed this with Claude and with ChatGPT when I was coding in Canvas there, that it seems like after you get a whole lot of iterations, it kind of goes off the rails a little. And so that's just a general observation. And again, this is the worst it's ever going to be. So I'm sure it will get better. But I have noticed that. But you can always go back and select a previous version. If it goes off the rails in version 10, you can always go back and click version 9 and go back and use it instead. Let's see how we're doing on our coding. It's still going wide open there. And so as you can see, it's doing a drought scenario. This is the one about the ecosystems. And so we'll come back to it in a minute. But wait, you can evaluate and test it first of all. And you do want to test all the buttons, all the things, because as it stands right now, since it's not saving them in Canva AI, once you export it into a project, you lose the ability to code it anymore or to iterate on it. And so just make sure you test everything before you do that and evaluate and test it again and then request additional changes. And then when you're ready to share it, we've already talked about this hitting the using the design. I showed you in your Canva homepage that you can just find it there and control paste or use the 3 dots to get the link to it and embed it in a Canva. And then once you get it in Canva, you can share it with your classes in a presentation, a website, a doc, or one of those other formats. Okay. And we're going to have another round of vibe coding and sharing. Let's see how mine's doing. Well, still going. And I'm getting close to Lindsay's. How many lines did yours end up doing, Lindsay? Mine's almost at 900 now.
Yeah, it ended up being like 1,400.
1,400. Okay. And this does happen sometimes. It popped up and said, sorry, that didn't work. But then it come right back and it did work, but it tells me that it didn't work. So it's got a message that it didn't work. Sometimes it actually won't work and you'll have to tell it to try again. I have had that happen a couple of times. But this one gives me a big old instruction on the top. Click on the organism to learn about it, explore how energy flows. Try the scenarios button, use the reset button to return. And then it gives some concepts here about producers, consumers, decomposers, food web, and interdependence. And so let's see what it looks like here. So I can click anything. So there's a deer, cute little deer, not very deer looking, but and they're a primary consumer. So they're herbivores, so eat plants. They eat grass, trees that are producers. They provide food for foxes and eagles. Secondary and tertiary consumers. When it dies, the decomposers break down. And so each one of these is interactive. And so I'd want to try it out, test it, make sure it's working properly, make sure that all of the information is correct. And so I would want to test it on all of those levels. And it's got instructions up here. You can pop up that, and it says also to go through the scenarios. And so if I go to the scenarios, what if all the foxes disappear? Let's see what might happen. So it explains it. The rabbit population will increase. More rabbits eat more grass, causing grass to decline. Eagles lose one of their food sources. The balance is disrupted. And so if I apply that, and I don't even know where the foxes were, but I guess, I don't know. I don't know that that's really showing me anything. Like the rabbits aren't increasing. So that would be something I'd want to iterate and kind of make improvements on. And then let's see, like another one. Well, I did the same one, cancel. So if I did, let's see if another one, what if a drought happens? Apply it to the food web. Okay, and so now it's showing me drought, and I guess the grass is declining, but that isn't super clear, so that would be something that I would want to iterate on, but I won't do that now. So I'm just going to save that one. It's good enough, I think, for an example for now. So use it in design, puts it in Canva, and from there you can share it. Remember that when you're interacting with them, though, you do have to be in present mode. And so that is basically it. And we have about 7 or 8 minutes left, and I'd love to see more of what you all are creating. But I also just want to put a plug in for this webinar. Our partners at Canva, they're great partners with us, and they're doing a webinar June 11th specifically for North Carolina teachers. This is the second one they've done for us. This one will be during our 3:30 time on Wednesdays during our AI time, and they're going to cover all of the new updates. I mentioned them briefly in my updates webinar, but there's so much that they rolled out at their Canva Create that you have access to now. And they're going to cover all of them, including the Canva Code, but they're going to talk about these other features as well. The Canva sheets and all of that is amazing. And so we would love to see you there. There's a registration link there for it. And that will be done by Canva staff. I'll be there, and I'm sure some of the other consultants will be there as well, but it'll be led by the folks at Canva. And thank you, Brian has dropped it in there, the registration for that as well. And before we close out, want to make sure that we do the evaluation, but I do want to we've still got about 7 more minutes, time for some more sharing. And so if you have something you want to share, we would love to have it on that Canvas whiteboard, that thing, whatever that's called. And I see several people have put them there so other people can test them out and get ideas from them. But if anybody has question, comment, or anything, feel free to unmute, pop it in the chat. Thank you guys for the positive feedback. I really appreciate that. But we can certainly unmute as well if anybody wants to unmute and put something in the chat or speak out loud. Anybody has questions or comments while people are finishing up and sharing some more things. And I'm going to try to pop that open and look at some of what's been shared that we haven't got to look at. So we've looked at that one. I don't think we've looked at this one yet. We've looked at Fable Forge. I'm going to pull this one up. I don't think we've got to look at it yet. Okay, so somebody has a pizza fraction fun. Pizza cake mix. Ooh. Okay, and so I am supposed to drag and drop my answer there. Okay, let's see what it does if I do it wrong. The next one. Okay, and so this one, if I put the wrong answer, then it tells me it's wrong. Okay, and so it gives me an opportunity to correct it, or does it? No, it doesn't. Okay. Oops, I didn't mean to press my built-in microphone. Can you guys still hear me? I did something with my microphone.
Yes, we can still hear you.
Okay. And I think whatever I did is blocking my next question there. So there we go. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, great. So put the wrong one in and it won't let you correct. That's one thing that if you were going to iterate, you might want to iterate on. But great little activity. Kids that are learning fractions would love this much more than sitting around doing it on paper, I'm sure. Okay. All right, let me see what else we can look at that we haven't got to see yet. Here's one, a multiplication memory match. So we'll open that one up. I'm going to have about 40 tabs open in the next 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to start medium difficulty, 60 seconds, 8 pairs. Y'all may have to help me here. Okay, so yeah. So you have to try to find the right answer. Okay, and this one Okay, very cool though. Students would love to play that over just doing times tables, I'm sure. Okay, and let's see, here we have a Beowulf's Challenge. Beowulf's Challenge. Let's look at it. Ooh, this one looks interesting. So begin the challenge. Quiz 10 questions about the epic poem Beowulf. It's been a long, long time since I've read that one, so I'm going to bomb this one. I'll pretend it's on purpose, but it's been a long time. So, okay, great. But very visual. I love how the design looks. It looks very visual. How did I prepare to face Grendel in battle? Anybody want to help me out here? I'll just guess if not. Oh, I got it right on accident. Okay, very cool. I'm going to see what else we can look at as you're sharing. We'll pull them up. Somebody's got a cybersecurity game. Cool. Okay, Molly says something she did to iterate was asking for more fun design. Okay, cool. And yours had a really good design. I really liked the way it looks. So that's a good. I asked for some Southwestern flair, recoded it with some change to color font, minor graphic changes. Visual part of the prompt will be important to include in your pre-writing. Okay, very cool. Good points. Okay, and this one we have a cyber defender. Wow, look at this one, very visually compelling also. Somebody did better than me on the design for sure. Suspicious email. Oh, this one looks like something we have to do once a month for know before. Okay, so you receive an email claiming to be from your bank. It says there's been a suspicious activity. Email looks professional, but the sender's address is secure banking. What should you do? Click the link. I'm pretty sure that's not right. Don't click it and contact your bank. Reply, forward the me. Okay, great. Very cool. I like this. Who did that one? Who created the cybersecurity one? Kenan? Oh. Okay, it's not possible to add sound or music. Okay, thanks for verifying that, Kenan. I think that may be something that's potentially rolling out because it was in some of the documentation. Maybe it hasn't rolled out yet, but we'll be looking for that. I hadn't tried it yet. Good to know, though. Definitely good to know. Okay, let's see. Which one have I not looked at? Here's an ancient civilization one. Keep sharing these after today, too, if you would like. We gives us some ideas to look at. See, this one's also much more visual and prettier than mine. So, super cool time travel. Let's see, I'm going to be in English. And, okay, it gives me some instruction. Oh, I forgot. I've got to go into preview or publish. Okay, so if I go into preview, it tells me what to do. Explore the arrow buttons and scroll. Use the civilization buttons to filter what you see. Press learn more. See cool facts and information. Okay, so I'm going to go exploring then. So if I want to learn more, oh, and your pop-ups actually work. So your prompting obviously worked better than mine on this one because you've got information on that. Very cool. I love the way it looks too. This is beautiful. I just never would have imagined 12 years ago when I was in the classroom that I could create something like this for my kids in 10, 15 minutes. I just think it's amazing. Very cool. All right. Do keep sharing. I'd love to see more of what you're creating. I think there's one more here. We'll look at one more and then we'll have to move on to the evaluation. If I can get it to open. Somebody from DPI apparently because it says NC ties. Okay, so explore macro molecules essential for life. Stacy, is this you? Brian, one of you science nerds, which one of you did this?
This is not mine. It's probably Stacy's.
Okay.
Oh, it's not yours? Or
It was
Lindsay's.
actually me.
Jordan.
Oh, what do you know about this, Jordan? I'm impressed.
Nothing. That's why I did it.
Okay.
I stepped outside my comfort zone to see how it could support me in my learning.
Either I'm really bad or none of them are right. So, but I don't know what I'm talking about. So that might be the problem there. But very cool. I love that. It looks great, Jordan. And this is a site. You produced this one as a site. Okay. Okay, great. Any questions before we go ahead and close out because it is 4:30 already. And I'll stick around for a few minutes if anybody has any questions. Yeah, I agree, Molly. I need to try one. Okay. Okay, so the last thing then is evaluation. And so we do value your feedback, both to help us improve, but also to help us verify what we're using your tax dollars for. So if you don't mind to do the feedback form, it's very quick and brief. And then it will send you a certificate to the email address that you use. So do verify your email address is correct. It'll send you a certificate in just a few minutes. And we appreciate you joining us today. And we'll stick around for a few minutes if anybody has any other questions or anything. And my contact information is on the last slide as well. Thank you, Samantha. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of y'all coming. Appreciate you sharing also. It's great to see some that are actually in use out in the wild.